Hi, I'm Roy Collin, the host of the podcast. You can find everything about me by scanning the QR code there or going to roycollin.com, and you'll find my six podcasts: the Podfather, helping people become podcasters; the Awakening, exposing fraud and corruption but with solutions; the Crypto, all things blockchain technology; meditation podcast; speaking podcast; and the Learn Polish podcast. You can also help the show by actually making a donation, visiting the store, or helping my sponsors. I hope you enjoyed this week's show. Welcome to the Awakening Podcast. You can find all our episodes on awakeningpodcast.org. We're joined again by our great friend, Peter Wilson. He's been with us, thankfully, for once a month, which we hope to continue because it's actually fantastic information. But it's an interesting one, which I shared with you just today. But basically, our last conversation, I got a strike on YouTube, which is nothing new. We're kind of used to, we mention censorship now and again. But that was an interesting one because it was like saying that we talked about medical information, and it even gives it timestamps now. And it wasn't. It was about when we were talking about other. Uh, I'm not. I don't want to tiptoe around. I'm going to say it as it is. We mentioned other podcasters, Joe Rogan and Russell Brand, because they're saying stuff and they don't get any strikes or whatever. And the fact that we were actually talking about that and that came back as medical misinformation, which of course has nothing to do with medical because we didn't mention anything medical on it, but it just shows the power that they have when they're removing us for things like that.
But you've got no kickback either, though, have you? You've got no defense, you know. It's like judge and jury and execution are done straight away, and you're either well, sometimes people are just being kicked off completely, you know, with no argument, no. So like, oh well, come and chat to us and let's find out what's wrong. Just boom, you're gone, off you go. You know, it's like
And before you could put in exactly the information, and I was planning, okay, I'll say it exactly and give links to other like Rumble and BitChute. Hey, they haven't been taken down or whatever, but they don't allow you to do that anymore. And they say, oh, so it's just like you make an appeal or you don't, and it's like they got 72 hours. And within about 5 minutes, it's back. Like, so obviously it's AI and it's just a lie that it's kind of knocking you. So you can't even have a decent appeal. And that goes with a lot of the social media, with Facebook, with TikTok and everything. I mean, I mentioned prior to recording, I don't know, is it 12 or something strikes that I have on my TikTok, which is unfortunate because they're just kind of remove me. I mentioned 13 families with one lady and that got a strike and removed. Like, and it's like, what's that got to? We're talking about the 13 ruling families. We didn't exactly name them, saying it's Johnny or it's Billy Gates or something like that. We didn't say nothing. So it's strange that so many things are being removed like that.
But I mean, it's not even as if it's like top secret information. You know, it gets mentioned a lot, and the names. You know, obviously you're not going to give like specific names and where they live or anything like that. You know, and really, right. So if you look at that side of it, right, and you talk about the 13 families, I've actually heard a couple of different versions of the names anyway, and that is not the ruling elite. That is like the ones that they'll allow you to know. There's above there, you know, have you ever heard of the Committee of 300?
Yeah, I have.
You know, I mean, you can read little bits about that, and then you see how the Committee of 300 will rule and actually order things like the UN, the WEF, or maybe we shouldn't say this as well, but
Yeah.
how it
But
filters
I don't
down.
want this that we ever tiptoe. So if they take it off the different things, it'll be on some of the platforms because that's what's happening. You start like I start going, okay, the jib jab, because you're afraid to say vaccine. It's like bollocks. It's a vaccine. We know it's not doesn't work about the ingredient, but you have to say key words because then the AI doesn't pick it up and you don't get kicked off. And that's pathetic. Like it's like
Yeah.
we have read so many books, and the strange thing is, even from the last conversation, loads of times we don't know our belief systems on different things, and it just the topic just comes up, and we have different friends, different research and everything, but we come to the same conclusion a lot of the time, and which when you start taking layers off, you find the truth. And it's strange, like, but hence why, not just me, that like there's a load of different people that are out there really trying to just tell people what's going on, and they're being, removed.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I mean, it is an interesting topic, that one about like the families and then how it actually goes up in the pyramid, which you can call it like it's certainly not like the Masons because they're quite way down on there, but that's, I think, the whole image of it going up. But there's certainly not that level there. Like that committee of 300 was very interesting. And then looking at like all of the organizations that were underneath that, that you thought were like, massively in charge of things, and they're all just getting their orders and doing exactly what they want to do. Like, Starmageddon, he just runs off and does whatever he's told to do, but everybody thinks he's prime minister. He's in charge of jack shit. Can't even buy his own bloody wife's clothes, man. Come on. So, but that just shows they're all just puppets of like what do you call it? The spider above, like David Icke says, all them
Yeah,
like
but the thing
tentacles
is,
coming
like
down.
most people, they're only given so much information, so yet they're in charge and they look like they're the leaders, but they do it in such a way that even if they're taken out or whatever, they don't have enough information to bring down the whole thing. It's like it's orchestrated in such a brilliant way, unfortunately, that they just keep you just know what you're supposed to do. That's your corner. You stay there. You do that. You're in control of so many levels deep, and it works for them.
Yeah, compartmentalized, isn't it? Just everyone's got their little box, and then you can't step outside of that little box. And like a lot of people have used this term compartmentalized, can't even say it. Like when we're dealing with say either the judiciary or councils. So I'm on two cases now with the council, and this is like I find it quite funny as I'm looking at it, but I mean obviously the people have got to go through it, so it's not funny for them. But what they've done is that the council specifically on these two occasions, these people have got a trust, and the property's all in trust, which has got nothing to do with anything. But what they've done, instead of like still trying to fight the actual one who lives in the house, that would be the liable party in their language. You're liable to pay the council tax. They've actually now attacked the trustee whose name is on the land registry as trustee. Well, they're actually attacking them in well, it's not even a real court. I don't know if anybody, you probably do know, like, the councils just do it on their own headed paper. They do it like they go to a magistrate's court, then go in the office and stamp all these like fake liability orders. They've issued a liability order under this fake court, which is coming under the magistrate's court or statutory legislation, to a trustee, which can only be spoken to under equity. You're not allowed to speak to them. You're not allowed to take them into a court. You're not allowed to do anything unless you do it through a court of equity, which is chancery. So and then we sent a notice back saying, hang on a second, you do know that you're actually breaching equitable principles. You're actually going in and you're breaking common law principles as well. And all we got back was a computer generated response was they are the person responsible. Liable, sorry, the other person liable. Computer generated. It was like no like explanation of anything. So now, like, I'm just preparing now a case to actually put it to court. So I want to actually get them, which has never been done before, get them in a council into a court of equity. So that's going to be interesting. That'll be a task. But I've spoke to at least one of the parties is like, yeah, I'm going, like, do it for me. The other one don't know yet. I'll have to speak to them, because they're a little bit
Let's
elder.
based on that, let's talk about the mindset. Because I mean, we mentioned I've had over 100 court cases. You've had a lot as well. But when you're representing people as well, it's like sometimes you just go into panic mode. It's a horrible sensation. And trying to break the norm because people think that a solicitor, attorney, lawyer, whatever it's called in your country, has your best interest at heart. And it's basically you're kind of giving your rights away. So when you start learning this, most of them, I don't even think most of them actually know that. They think they're kind of representing, even though it's really billable hours is what they're looking at. But from your experience, because you have a lot of experience in what's the best way? Like, because there's a lot. I mean, this is just continuous. Like, people all over the world are being dragged through the courts no matter what. And it's whether you're taking someone to court or you're in a losing battle straight away. It's just a horrible feeling. What's the best way of getting your mindset right in your experience to make sure that you're not going in there just terrified? Because when you're terrified, you're not acting. You're critically thinking. You're not paying. You're just living in fear as even when you're in there. It's called jurisdiction.
Definitely. I mean, but so what everything is mindset though, right? So I would look at that. I mean, And oh, okay, everything, not everything. I know you have to have your paperwork correct. You have to have your case preparation correct. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about here. All right. So it's exactly the same. And I'll always put this down to people that try and we do coaching sessions on mindset and also how to control yourself. A lot of it is through an experience that I've had, and I didn't even realize how powerful it was or what I was doing. And in a lot of ways, I could just call it like self-hypnosis, or maybe it would be meditation, and it's how to prepare for a fight. So, I fought like professionally, and I was on like television a few times live on Sky TV. I mean, that itself can be like massively nerve-wracking. You think, well, there's going to be like millions of people looking at you, and you make a mistake, or you get hurt and you're embarrassed, or so many different things. So it's all here, and you really have to focus yourself and calm yourself and get into yourself. It really is like kind of meditation and self-hypnosis and controlling. It's all about the adrenaline. If you can't control your mind and use your mind to control your body, then your body will take over and you will start to get shots of adrenaline. And everybody's felt it, right? It'll be either excitement or fear, but in the fear base, it's worst, and it goes right into the stomach, and you feel as if like you literally turn to lead. Your legs can't move, your arms you can't get them to do, and it's like your fight and flight, response just goes into overdrive, and that adrenaline shot is too strong for your mind and your body, and you can't do anything. And it's exactly the same to go into any kind of negotiation, including a court scenario. I mean, ideally, would love to stay away from the court, but when you have to, like, get attacked like this, where they go for a trustee, which can only be spoken to in a court of equity, and they've dragged this name because it's all in a piece of paper, and they've actually written on trustee of the private trust as well. So it's not like they can say, "Oh, we didn't know." It's actually they've written it on the letters and the summons. This is how stupid they are. That's what I'm talking about, like deep compartmentalized. They're sitting in that box, and it's like, what's a trustee? What's a trust? What's equity? No, I'm told that I have to write this piece of paper out, so I have to do it. I'm here from 9 till 5, and then I'm going home, right? I'm going to sit and watch Coronation Street and have a beer, right? Cup of tea, and that's it. It's that's all there is to it. Their life. I'm not trying to be rude about them, but it's like, you're living in a planet full of non-player characters, NPCs. They're just there. They're not actually there to accomplish or do anything. They think, being able to work 40 hours like a week up until they're like 60 years old and drop dead before they get a full pension, they've been successful. They're literally plugged in and plug and play, plug and play. They're not real. So, they've just went and done these things. Where is the mentality? I mean, I have studied law. I actually went to law school, and I've like pushed myself to try and find out as much information as possible to actually help myself and help friends and family. But surely they should be able to do something like that and have some kind of knowledge as well. If they think that they can send someone to a court, then they should know how to do it and who they can and who they can't send. They just do exactly what they're told. Well, stamp, away you go. So, but like I say, the mindset for it there, it literally is. It's going to be like, it's got to be similar to how you would prepare for a fight. So it's like a lot of meditation and self-hypnosis is the way I call it, because I don't really know what else to say. And you put yourself in a completely different state. And I know I felt that like in several like really big fights that I had, and it had to be completely, and you're out your body, you're not there. It's like, and you cannot feel things. You can't feel pain. I mean, you would have to literally get, knocked unconscious to stop. How many times have you seen boxing fights or whatever fights and think, how are they still standing? How are they still doing that? Because they're not there. They're, if they've done it correctly and they've went in, and they have to hit. I mean, if you hit in the correct place on a jaw, there's 2 spikes here, and it goes in the brain like that, exactly the same way as you would make an animal unconscious for slaughter. and your mind blacks out. It doesn't take a lot. It just has to be at the correct angle. It doesn't even have to be harder than that. If it goes in the correct angle, we used to do it and demonstrate it in class horribly, like knock someone unconscious, in a friendly way. And it's that spike, boom, and they're gone. And you know, and that's how you would have to stop them because they can take a lot of punishment. I mean, one fight, this guy, I thought I broke my arm. And when I finished it, it was like literally like twice the size at least, and it was black and blue from my fingers right all the way to my elbow. It was like that for about like 2 months. Um, and this guy is like so powerful. Crazy, crazy, like powerfully. He was he still is the world champion now. I mean, and this is like what is this now? That's like 24 years after I fought him, right? So, he was something else. And mind you, that was actually in Belfast. And he beat me, right? But he only by 1 point. 1 point. It went the full rounds, everything, finished it, and it was a split decision. And it was like, it was very, very close. And a lot of people said that it should have went my way. I'm not bothered. I don't care whatsoever. But yeah, and it's like feeling that pain though, and it was like my mind was like, well, I just have to keep going, and you have to put yourself into that situation, and you really have to internalize everything, and it's a lot of it. Like I say, the only way I can think of it is self-hypnosis, but preparing yourself and psyching yourself up for the fight correctly. But you see, there's a lot of people I've seen. What would you call them? Less experienced ones, like I don't really go to too many now, but I used to go in the corner a lot and help and coach a lot and even run shows. I've run shows like all over Europe and you see them getting angry, and you see them getting excited and sometimes even the coaches will slap them and get them excited and angry. And I think it's not the right way because you're actually ruining your own adrenaline shots. And if you take too many adrenaline shots, it literally is it's like a drug that's pumped into your blood system, you will collapse, and I've seen it so many
And that's
times.
very relevant in the courtroom because when you get angry, and sometimes it could be somebody like the prosecutor or whatever it is that just says something, press the right button, or the judge might say something. And then you see people losing the plot and they lose the case because of that. And you have to sit, and like with me, I mean, what I used to is obviously preparation, as you mentioned, is very important. But I'd go away and I'd have breakfast in a restaurant. I'd get out of the house and then I'd just sit down and I'd chill and I'd start reading through the notes, just kind of getting me mentally, because you can't have it in front of you where you're reading out stuff. You just need to know what it is. But the thing as well is breathing. When I was going to the courtroom, I was always like deep breathing and just staying in control. And I was like, no matter what they say, don't get angry. And what I used to do as well is like they'd ask a question and you know you're supposed to answer it, but I'd make sure I get my point across. So you'd answer it in a way that you're getting your point across, just always kind of thinking 2 steps ahead of them because a lot of them, they're just out to try to catch you.
Yeah, I mean, they're taught to do that. They're actually trained, it's nothing to do with law. They're literally trained psychology, right? So how to actually get people angry. And as soon as you lose your temper or get angry, then you stop thinking correctly, and which is perfect for them because then you say the wrong thing, and once you've tripped yourself up, then you get angry at yourself. So it self-perpetuates,
And
So
it's
we
all
say that,
logged
like,
as well. That's the worst thing. Like it's all written down, so you can't say, "Oh, I
yeah,
checked."
exactly, exactly. We just say it was like look, the whole thing, either like in a self-defense situation, or if you're preparing for like a fight, be amateur professional, it's the same thing, it's the same risk, or in a court, it's like be calm, breathe, be calm, breathe. But whenever it comes in, so if they ask you a question and that question even can make you react angrily, so the whole thing is like be calm, breathe, like count backwards, right? Count back from 10 down. You don't have to answer. Who says you have to answer straight away? You can look up, look around, pick up your breathing, thinking, clearing your mind, and then get ready. And there should always be at least a 10-second pause or gap before you answer so that you've prepared yourself and ready, and then you can answer it in perfectly calm manner, and that's the way to do it. And it's all about your mental state, calming it, clearing it, and you probably still will get them shots of adrenaline, and you'll feel it like in your stomach, like the butterflies, and it can be like angry, and and it's got to be like because you're sitting down. It's not like you're in a competitive fight where you're always moving, so you don't get those adrenaline shots all the time like that. Um, but when you're sitting down and you're kind of like relaxed situation and you're trying to work out what's going on and you're waiting for the spike of adrenaline comes in, so you have to be able to control it. So be calm, breathe, let it settle down. Don't let because what it'll do, it'll make you speak, 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 speak without getting this engaged. And that's what you have to do is slow it down, let it engage, right? And then give the answer that's required. For you, for like what you just said, to get your point across rather than give them the answer that's necessary for their actual case.
There was I had a case. The last one that I had was a few years ago. They were trying to give me 3 years in jail for more fraud, and prosecutor was coming across, and they were changing the prosecutor all the time. At one stage, the prosecutor was fast asleep, like, and I'm looking at him and going, "This is my life on the line," and I have an idiot across across me, just fast asleep. Like I should have been able to hit him with a brick for doing that. Like, the thing should have been dismissed, but what happened is I won, but then they appealed, and my solicitor kind of said I didn't go in on my own. This man was with a solicitor for a criminal case. It was I hadn't that experience, and it was kind of a panic mode. But they appealed, and my solicitor asked them my opinion. We always do, right? So that's the first step. It's like even though they know, look, and it goes to a higher level. And when I went in, they forgot to get the translator, but the judge started talking to me in English. She said, "Look, I shouldn't talk to you, but look, this is what's going to happen. We'll come back and we get translator." And she was nice. And I just felt, yeah, she's grand. She's got, new judge. She's going to make a mark. And as I was going in a month later, whenever it got called up, my solicitor says she's making a mark for herself. She's putting everyone in jail. And I went from being calm and collected to shitting myself because I was like, and, so she said her spiel, and then she asked me to say something, and I said it, and I can't even remember what I said, but I know that I wasn't in control. I was nervous, the way when you're panicking when you're speaking. It went back to that level, but thankfully I was cleared on all accounts, and yeah, I got. But it's like the sad part is your life is on the line based on a corrupt system. And it could easily, and I know that happens with a lot of people. There's a lot of innocent people locked behind bars based on the whole system that's corrupt. And it's a sad state of affairs. So it's like, I think you have to learn it because you would think that the solicitors, barristers, lawyers, attorneys, whatever you call, would learn, Black Law's Dictionary, Boulevards, all the different things, and they would know everything. They're going in and they're going, "Hey, you're not referring, not." And when you try to tell them that, they just talk, they walk away. It's like you're talking French to them, and they never heard French in their life, and which is sad because they've got that brain that can retain this information. Not everybody's got that. Like, like to me, I have to read a lot of the different books and then start putting two and two together. Eventually, the penny drop. But some of these people, they've got the brain capacity. That's how their brain works. They mightn't be great in other situations, but they're able to retain information very easy. You would love that you have somebody that you say, "Hey, come and represent me," based on the proper way of being representing. And it doesn't. I don't see it exist with any legal person. Have you come across people that have, let's say, go from the dark side from into the light?
Well, yeah, yeah, I have. It's like two times, and it's like both personal. I have to be a bit careful here because this is kind of like going back to an old life, right? It was a bit of a naughty boy, right? And so you end up kind of like in the wrong side of the law if you like, there's a lot. And it was what I tell you what it is like the I was 12 years old, right? And it was like the 23rd of December, 1975. And it was a Christmas shopping day that we were going out, and it was like I was going to meet a friend, just a young boy, like we were going down into town. My other brothers and sisters were going out in different ways to go and do this Christmas shopping and blah blah, and so but I remember the day and like being like with my friend, and just it was very very cold. a very fresh morning, and and it's like enjoying myself and buying things for other people. So you had saved up all your pocket money, which like was nothing back then. And it was in looking back in reality, which I thought was amazing. Like I've bought this pen, you know, for my brother, and I thought, oh, a beautiful pen, which like if you did that now, they'd probably throw it at you, but it was what it was. But anyway, and went back home, blah blah blah. I have to be careful, It's like and like anyway, when we got back home, my brother had turned ill. He went ill, and so he went to bed and that. And we were trying to watch. Television wasn't on very much them days as well either. I know it sounds weird. There's like three channels, and it was
I
all
remember
usually.
one in black and white. So
Yeah, well, I can remember that as well. But like and we were lucky at this stage, in it's 70s. There was like there was three, but it wasn't on like very long. So we were watching probably some kind of Christmas film or whatever. And my brother was in upstairs in bed, and he kept shouting down, "So I don't feel bad, I need a drink." So he was asking for like water all the time, and it was like having to go up and give him water. I just remember feeling as well, thinking, "Oh, this is annoying." I'm trying to watch the film, like leave me alone. But like anyway, and he got worse and worse and worse, and then he ended up having to go to hospital, and he died that night,
oh shit.
right? So, and he was only 16. He was literally just ready to go into the Royal Air Force. He'd already got his pilot's license. He was, like whatever. He was like extremely clever, successful, and blah 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 blah. And that really fucked me up,
No, I can imagine.
you
Yeah,
know.
Jesus, terrible.
So I'm trying to like keep myself calm here while I'm talking about it, and it really did knock me off the rails. And it made me, well, first of all, I thought, well, there's no point in being here anyway. So we're all gonna die now, right? And like and I was of a presumption I was gonna die at any time, so I didn't really care. I mean, I did, and so I did get into a lot of fighting, a lot of violence, and a lot of trouble. I didn't steal anything, I didn't go and burgle houses or rob people or nothing like that. I didn't do anything like that, but I was just like, I couldn't speak to people. And it continued for a long time. And I was like very, very, I wouldn't let anybody bully me. And a lot of it was bullies. And I had been bullied because we had went to a town where I wasn't from. So, and they were in the worst place in the world now, so they actually got really bad time of it, which they deserved anyway. And then it just continued. So I ended up getting into like a lot of different places and into trouble and into courts, for the wrong thing. But two big things when I was looking at literally the first time, and I was only 13 or maybe 14, and I was looking at 5 years in prison or Borstal. And when it was a barrister, and it was actually the chairman, I'm sure it was the chairman, but like of Newcastle United, and he just went, no, this is all wrong, blah blah blah, and just smashed the court to pieces, and so like closed the case and finished it off, and it kind of he was right. What they had done was terrible, like the police and everything like that. Is what I mean? It is one of them things. They just wanted to actually have the win, if you like. Doesn't matter what the evidence was or anything like that. And yeah. So I mean, I was like, oh, okay, that was quite a surprise. And then later on, it was actually when I was only 17 actually as well, so it wasn't that much later. And this was even worse. And I was actually in the forces, was in the Royal Navy at the time, and I was looking at 10 to 12 years. And this it was a barrister again, but who was in the Navy, right? Or a lawyer, whatever he was. And he come up and he says, I'm not allowed to speak to you unless you request me to speak to you. So please fill in a request form and get it to me. I was like, oh, okay. So I filled that in, and and then he come up and he went, everything they're doing is wrong. And what they're going to do is they are going to, you're finished if you let them do what they want to do. So like whoever's in charge of your case, what they'd call your divisional officer, your boss, You know, he's working with the other side, ready to like that you're finished. You know, he says, I can see everything that they're doing, everything that they're doing wrong, and I'm going to go and tell them all. You know, if you can sign that form and say that I will now be your officer, you know, and yeah, no problem. And it was it, finished, done it. When it didn't all go away, you know, but not 10 years anyway. So it was like a lot shorter. So there is good.
No,
There
no,
is
I hate
good.
that they're both incredible story, and it's kind of done its full circle where you're now helping people. And the thing is, when you were like 12, like there was nobody that time to kind of teach you the trauma and everything. So that was just you acting. Like, so it wasn't your fault that you were kind of acting out when you know your brother passed. Like, because that's a terrible thing for anyone to experience. And the fact that you've got two people that had your back and now you've got hundreds of people's back, I reckon maybe millions, because I mean the videos you're putting out stuff, all the information, all the conversations, not just we've had, but you do a lot of different things as well. Like you don't even know the ripple effect that you're having, because you could have just said something that somebody's able to use in court and either keep their child or not get taken down or get arrested or something like that. So it's like it's strange how the world kind of works. You know, we're on about the little boxes, but I think that there's so many things that line up as well in life. And when you look back, you kind of go, "Oh, that's strange that you know, this is my route that I've taken."
No, but you know, and it is good really because in a lot of ways it's like paying it back, isn't it? Or paying it forward, if you like, you know. And I know like exact everything that happened and what I went through, and it's literally is it's like PTSD, you know, and like you are in shock, but you are like, and it's like trauma, and you do act out in whatever way. And so, like, we've never seen anything like what to do, and there's nobody to talk to. Nobody ever spoke to anybody, not in the 70s, right? Nobody said, oh, well, look, you know, we need to actually counsel these kids or whatever it is. So that's it. You're just left alone, and look, you know. Yeah, it like I mean, some things was good, and you know what I mean. You fell over in the 70s, they'd say get up, rub it off, and just run around with it, it'll go away, you know. So there was no like, oh, I'm offended or anything like that. You know, you got on with it, and you weren't identifying as a dandelion. You were just getting on with your life. But you know, yeah, and I don't know, like it affected me a lot, all the way. I would say right the way up until till I actually met Janine, you know, and I think that helped me and made me calm down and assess things in different ways, and you know,
Like I
plus
grew up in terraced house in a rough area, and I mean I saw lots of things. And you see people that whether they had alcoholic parents or whatever, you'd see the child that was acting out and then became the bully, or just you know they had their own trouble. But also if somebody like say the mother died of cancer and they were young, they just went wild then because they'd nobody kind of looking after them. Whereas it's different now. Like there's always somebody and they can go to and everything. So that's like I think it's from my life journey, and I say it could be similar to yourself. Like no matter who I come across and how they might come across as like bad or their past history and everything, you don't know their journey. And like if you have forgiveness for people and kind of just understand that look, everyone's had a different path. When you can have forgiveness, then they look differently at you as well. Because I'm sure you've met in the fighting world. Because I mean, like I done martial arts as well. Sometimes you get the wrong people coming, but you can change them. You can actually change their mindset because they get, I suppose, like some people call it a tribe companionship and everything. But you see them as a person instead of what a lot of people would label a scumbag or something like that. And they can change overnight. And it's like I think the compassion that we give to people can change society as well. And a lot of people they don't. They just go, "I'll push them there. They should live in that little block or that area of the city."
oh, for sure, for sure, and you know, and I think the good thing as well, you know, for me, for my feeling is when you know I was running a full-time martial arts gym, and the amount of kids that we had through, as well as the adults, you know, we trained well, thousands and thousands of different children and adults all the way through the years. They're still open now. The gyms are still open now, and they're still running, it's still full and booming. But you know, we had initially when we were just fighting, we still had a very good disciplined gym. It just wasn't for everybody because not everyone wants to get punched in the face, you know. So it's like only the people that have got that mentality to think, well, I can go through that extra bit of pain that would be in with us because you know. it was very, although it was disciplined and loving, it was very unforgiving on a physical level. So, but we were in that mindset. We were professionally fighting, so we couldn't afford to slow down or anything, and it was like you either come along with us or you fall by the wayside. So it was never financially successful on the training side because we weren't there to like mollycoddle anyone. It was like keep up or keep away. Um so but you can see the people that were like you say, probably would have said they're from the wrong side of the tracks. And then you can like help them and straighten them out, and really, really like benefit them and help with discipline. Because everybody's got it, they just like might not have it in the right direction, and everybody says, well, I haven't got any motivation. It's not motivation, it's your direction. And once you go in the right direction, motivation can only last for a couple of minutes. But nobody stays motivated. There's no such thing, right? You're motivated, you jump up and go, oh, I'm excited. And 2 seconds later, you're like, well, not really. It's the discipline that puts you through, and that's what we've tried to install on everyone. And then that's when we stopped fighting like competitively and moved it to the right, like now let's teach them a mindset. Now let's teach them mental discipline, physical discipline, on good manners, on being like like a decent individual, so we can move you forward. Yeah, we're going to teach you martial arts, especially on the kids, because it's good fun running around doing all these tricks and stuff like that. It was like learning these physical movements, but it's all to be done in such a disciplined way and we used to sit down with them and have chats with them. I even wrote books. I've got children's books out, right? Tommy the Tiny Tiger, which teaches them focus by using martial arts. It was an illustrated book. It's still available. I don't know how to do it, how to buy it. It's on Amazon. I get no money for it or anything. And I don't know what happened to it, but they're still there. And that's what we did. It was all about teaching the discipline for the children to be able to move forward in life and not end up getting into trouble, like I had.
with
So.
the martial arts because like it was kung fu that I did. I did kickboxing and boxing as well, but we used kind of you'd go for the person's head, and like if he didn't block it properly, he was getting smacked into the head. And I remember there was a guy from a karate black belt joined us, and he was telling us he was in a fight, and he just went whoo and stopped right in front of your man's face because that's how they were trained. And you see a load of martial arts, they get them going up and down the hall, whether it's karate or taekwondo or something like that, and it's all about control and everything. But they're so conditioned into that when they're in a real life situation, they don't know. Whereas we were always taught hit aim behind the head and follow through. So I think anyone that's actually thinking of joining the martial arts, or if you're in one, I think you need to get a few bruises as well. It toughens up, but it prepares you for the real world.
Most definitely. But you see, I mean, I was teaching people to fight full contact. That was it. It was real. You're in a boxing ring, and the idea was like someone's going to get knocked out, and that was what you were there for. I mean, Janine, my wife, once we met and I started coaching her, I took her through to win the world championship, on women's full contact kickboxing. And I had like
She
loads of
keeps you in
different.
line, or you get a kick into the head. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, I've had more black eyes from her than anybody else ever. Like all the sparring sessions, like you know. So, but we had a lot of champions, like Northeastern champions, English champions, British champions, European champions, and Janine, like a world champion. But the whole thing is when I used to, I'd never argue. I'm very respectful, but still, if you're trying to do this type of sport or art or whatever it is that you want to call it, and you're stopping there, how do you know what it feels like on your hand to actually hit that target? Then, I know loads of doormen that haven't trained properly, and the doormen, right? And they've broken their hands, like once they get into some kind of scuffle or confrontation, well, they've lost their job. You need to know how to handle, how to use your hands and how to do certain things and how to like meet a target and be able to actually like make sure that it's the target that is getting the damage done and not you. That's just the way it is. If you're in that field and if you're in that environment, then you have to learn how to do it properly. Obviously, when we were teaching the children, and it was all about discipline, we would still have them hitting targets in this, oh, you've got to hit it as hard as you can, but it wasn't on each other, it was targets. So we would hit the targets and we'd hold the pads, move them around for them. It's all balance, coordination, agility, all of that focus. But they still had to know what it felt like to actually strike a target. And it's better for you anyway, because it's going to help drain, right? It's going to, the medical side, no disinformation, right? It's going to drain your lymphatic system. So when you're striking targets and you're getting that vibration going through your body, it's just like having a lymphatic massage. So your lymphatic system is your draining system of your body. It's where all the toxins go, and you have to drain them out. And if you're not draining them out, is why people get lymphatic cancer, and they get lumps on their body and in the armpits. It's because you're not draining your lymphatic system. So if you want to do any type of exercise that you want to think, well, I just want to do an exercise, even if you don't want to get hit, start going to one where you can strike targets and have that vibration going through, because not only will it build up bone strength and density with the vibration going through your hands, but it will also help drain the lymphatic system as well. And so it's got so many mental as well as physical health benefits. It's amazing.
And we always go on different tangents. We never know where this conversations go. But like regarding the underarm deodorant, I mean, I was always using the roll-ons. When you were younger, you were using the spray. And when I realized how toxic they are, and that's why, unfortunately, a lot of women get breast cancer, because they're blocking that. And then it goes into the breast, the toxins go into the breast. And like, you can buy the crystals, I've like the crystals, but I even stopped using that. It's like, it's once you don't have toxins in your body, you don't have the sweat and the smell. And it's like, but people think, oh, I put on this, even the aftershave as well. Like, I mean, I didn't know that. I used to use aftershave all the time. That's all toxic as well. Like, so it's like, don't block your system. Same with the creams that they put block the sun. Most of the time, that actually causes cancer. I know I'll probably get another strike for this one. I don't give a shit. It's like, you can go away and do your own research on that. Like, so it's basically, if you can't put it on your mouth because your skin is your biggest organ. So would you get your deodorant and rub it on your tongue? Would you get your sunscreen and take it, put it on a cracker and just eat it? You wouldn't.
Yeah.
So why are you rubbing it into your system that it's been absorbed?
Exactly. So I mean, we never use deodorants or aftershaves or perfumes or anything like that whatsoever.
That's interesting. No, 'cause
But
that's like what I said earlier. We've never had that conversation, and you've just
no,
said the exact
no.
same thing, and we've had our own little journeys, like.
Yeah, no, it's amazing, really. But I mean, I suppose I don't know why it is, but then it takes something triggers it, and then you just start researching it, and you go, oh my God. And for years now, we've never used anything, and this is when we suffer, right? So even when we go out, we went out every morning. Now I'm going out for a walk, making sure I've got my target now is to physically train every day for the rest of the year without a day off. So I've been doing it, because I do train regularly, but like for the last few, I would say 3-4 months, it's been 1 day, 2 days a week. I think that's not good enough, but it's been so busy sitting in this chair, and I'm on the computer, I'm typing away, and I'm paperwork here, court work, paper there, and then I'm sort of, yeah, okay, I've got to do that, but I've got to discipline myself again and get out there. So I'm going to do, I'm not going to miss a day. But even today when we're walking out, so I like to go do a walk and then get back and either go on the weights or the bags or whatever it is, And so when you're walking along and people walk past you, when they're wearing either deodorant, aftershave, perfume, it kills me.
Yeah. Or if
Right?
you go into
I
the
have to,
store, if I go into like a galleria or whatever you call them, a shopping mall, and they have, one of these areas like Sephora or Douglas or whatever they're called, I can't go near them. I just
yeah.
kind of start sneezing, my eyes start watering, the exact what you've just said, passing somebody.
Exactly. So, and it's like going out as well. You go out to a restaurant, and like we don't really, really go out very often at all, but when you do, and then somebody walks past and they've got like aftershave and they think it's fine and they're smelling, look, to me, they all smell the same, by the way, now. Doesn't matter what you've got on. Every single aftershave, perfume, whatever, it all smells the same smell. There isn't a distinct smell to them all, and they all smell disgusting. And it hurts my nose and my eyes and my throat. And it's like we should start wearing masks. When we're going out, it kills me. Funnily enough, yesterday I was in a salt therapy room, right? So couple of weeks time not in this therapy room, but I'm doing a talk there, because they've got a big group, like a freedom group, and they've got rooms upstairs. But I was in the room and I was talking to this older guy, and he was working on boilers all of his life. He was a boiler cleaner, boiler maintenance, and I mean, bigger than this room, boilers. And he's in a bad way, and he's in these salt rooms because it's like, what did they used to tell you back in the Victorian times? If you were ill, get to the seaside and breathe in the sea air. So this is going. It's like all the floor is all salt. So you're standing in salt. All the walls are salt, and then they're pouring this oxygen and salt into you. So you're breathing it in, and getting all of that salt air and oxygen in your lungs. But like I was in with him, and he's really bad. This whatever it is that's happened to him,
Probably
being in.
asbestos if he was working on
Probably
boilers
that's what
for
he
long
said.
term. Yeah, I'd
He's
say
a
it
lot
was
older than me.
asbestos.
Well, about like 15 years older than me. So he's worked with asbestos all those years. He's like not very well, So he says it helps amazingly in these salt rooms, but just if he literally can't breathe if there's anybody near him with like aftershave on or anything. That guy there. So. And the less that you get into, I think he's obviously got it too bad one way, but the more that you actually detox your own body, right? As in not putting all those things on that you've said, the deodorants and the even the soaps. You got to watch what just wash it. This is why they had you washing your hands all the time, and you know what I
And
mean.
a
And,
lot
and
of them people wouldn't have noticed, but I do because I had heard about it because I never used. You see it dissolving because people are dropping it and it's spilling and it's actually dissolving underneath. So that's how
mm,
toxic they are like that. And the other thing is, like I've never liked cigarette smoke. It was always affecting me. But the vapes, like if I'm in, say, a restaurant and somebody goes into the bathroom and they shouldn't be, but they're vape, I'll go into a cough attack. They are like 100 times worse. That
I think they are.
yeah, even if somebody's walking and they're like 100 meters ahead or whatever, it's like it stays at a low level, whereas a cigarette blows up and it's not as bad. And it just goes in, and sometimes it's like it's smelling. So the kids think it's this is a lovely smell because they have all these flavors. And just go into like what is it doing that it causes me to have this reaction? Because obviously I'm trying to be as clean as possible. But what is it doing to the person that's actually taking a big breath of this constantly?
Isn't but I mean, it's like you can see all the chemicals that are actually in it and all these what they call ingredients that are in it, which you think, well, what is that? It's like, and they actually suck that directly into their lungs, but they wouldn't go into like an asbestos room. Well, really? You're doing worse. I mean, it's just insane. Oh, I'm not gonna smoke. Instead, I'm going to use
And
this. I'm
most
going
of
to be
them are
healthy.
actually, they're vegan. They're saying, I'm not going to do this because it's bad for my health and stuff like that. And I mean, I have loads of friends that are vegan, and I believe you're as well. You don't eat meat, do you? I think.
No, no, no.
But there's a load of them that actually they use that on the health basis, and then they're actually smoking the vapes.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, it's just nuts. I mean, that the vaping's got to be one of the worst things in the world you can ever do. It's got to be. And the thing is now, I mean, if you go it's not my town, but where my gym is, right, in that town next to us, you go down the street and there's like they've destroyed the town centre. There's no butchers, there's no bakers, there's no shops. They're all secondhand shops, charity shops, right, or vape shops. Vape shop, they're everywhere. Everyone's buying all these vape shops, and it's I don't know how much it is. I've never looked at it, but a lot of people say, "Oh, it's much better for me because it's cheaper than smoking." Like, oh, come on, you know what I mean? It's like so's eating dog shit, but I mean, I'm not going to start doing that. It's like it's absolutely insane. But on the vegan side, right? They like yeah, they're also a little bit crazy as well, right? I mean, I don't eat meat, right? I don't, but it's like, but I grew up my dad was a butcher, right? And I actually worked in the slaughterhouses, You know, I've seen it all, I've done it all. I know exactly what you're eating, by the way, and I know what fear and panic and everything go through every single animal before they die. They know everything that's going on. So, you know, but I mean, you know, and I still let meat for a long time, even during that period. So I'm not trying to, and I'm definitely, I couldn't give a shit what anyone eats. You eat what you want, eat yourself. I don't give a fuck. But, you know, like these people, it's, oh, yes, I'm a vegan and I'm not gonna, and then the next thing you know, they're eating all this fake meat. Well, what's in that? It's you're eating a chemical. You may as well go and eat a packet of cigarettes, you know, because you're eating crap there. And then the next thing you know, they're eating all this stuff and it's just full of sugar. Well, it's vegan. No, it's not. It's sugar, right? So what you're doing is you're putting more parasites into your body than any meat probably could. So yeah, I mean, I don't want to get into the ins and outs of the not eating meat part, but stop eating the sugar. You know, don't go down and say, oh, well, I'm healthy because I'm a vegan, but I've filled myself full of sugar because you'll have more parasites in you than anybody. You know, that's exactly what cancer lives on and what parasites live on. They create cancer and you're just filling your body full of it. So you know, that type of vegan, and they seem to be able to, they have to tell everybody every 5 seconds that they are as well. You know, that is a very unhealthy individual.
Definitely. So, like, one of the things, it was actually a guy that you had on the show that, what's his name? Dwayne DeJune, I think. I don't know how you pronounce it.
Dane,
But it was
Dane
about
du jour.
yeah, protecting your children. And there was a few things that he said on it, but because that's another big international thing as well, because they believe they can take your children. And there's the trickery of the words and everything. But let's kind of go into that. But one of the ones was not standing up in court. And I know I've heard of that and everything. And it's like, well, he said it in such a nice way. So just like, because, oh, stand for your honor kind of bullshit. Like, so you might kind of just touch on that for those that wouldn't be aware of, you don't have to stand.
Yeah, yeah, and definitely the way that Dane done it. You know, I mean, I've known him for quite some time, and you know, I think I must have told him to speak to you then. Yeah, it was like, but like,
No,
I've
it was
got his.
actually your show that I didn't have him on my own. I was
All right,
in, it was one
I've
of your
told
own, yeah,
I've
chat.
told
Yeah,
him to
but no,
get
I
on here.
definitely should get on. No, I said I would love to have him
Oh,
on, but
it's because it's really good, you know. But I mean, the way he did it was good. 'Cause I've seen others doing it. That again, you see, and that's what I'm talking about. That's the mental state when they're going in, they're not in the right frame of mind. They're actually in an aggressive mood. So when they go in and they're confronting the judge, and they're not really giving him any space to escape, you know, and that's the difference. Whereas like what Dane, he was like very polite. He is very softly spoken, very polite anyway, isn't he? So very nice type of sounding voice. And you know, and it was just the way he said it. He said, "Oh, I didn't know. I've never been to court before. Have I got to stand up? Is that when I must do that?" I went, "Well, no, you don't have to." You know, I went, "Oh, so I can remain seated." I went, "Yeah, no problem. Remain seated." You know, so he kind of won him over without a massive confront. He confronted him in a gentle way rather than going, I'm not sitting down, I'm not standing up, which is what everybody else seems to do, you know. And basically, what he's went in is he went and stood as a man rather than being the person. You know, and a lot of people have argued that say, "Oh, that doesn't exist." And well, there you go. There's proof. Not only did he actually go in and do it, he did it, and he won his case, and he was doing it in a family court where there was the possibility, right? The penalty if he'd have messed it up, he could have lost his daughter. So, you know, obviously he'd done a lot of research. He'd made
and just
sure he
on
knew.
for a little context, it was like the daughter was with him and the wife was moving abroad and wanted to take the child. So, it was actually, he was in the right and then was like basically trying to take away your loved one. And because I've seen a load of the stuff they go, you say it's your property, not your child. So if we were out having a beer, I'd say, oh, my child is this much. But in court, it's different. And it's strange to actually refer to your children as your property, but we have to learn their rules.
But that's the difference, you see. Now, I've said this for many a time, you know, and I've said, well, but I would never use the term your children. It's your offspring or your son or your daughter. And you are not a parent, right? You are the mother or the father or the creator, the author. And that is the difference. So when you look at the law and you say, what is property? And they actually say, well, it's if you create it or you're the author and you maintain, then you must be the owner. It's the property. Now, this isn't the type of property, and it's a law. Remember, we're talking about law, not legal, right? Lawful. And in the law, then that is your property. So his term was, why are you interfering with a private agreement that was already made and my private property? So the judge is saying, what do you mean property? That's your daughter's. Well, that's my property. And he went, the judge said, explain. So when he said, well, it says in law, if you author and you're maintaining, then that is your property. So you are interfering with my private property. I've authored it. You know, I'm the one that created the actual daughter. They can't argue with that, you know. So I definitely maintaining clothes, food, making sure she's got somewhere to live. So I'm maintaining. So therefore, it's my property. The judge straight away, yeah, actually, you're right. You know, and which was another good thing because then he went, well, the judge said, but that also means that the mother is also entitled to say that that's her property. And then, like, because Dane had already been coached on how to approach these things and what to say, and he'd said, "Oh, are you offering legal advice to my adversary?" Something, but it was like legal advice. And I didn't think the judge was allowed to give legal advice, and he was like, "Oh, excuse me, I apologize, I won't do that again." So so the judge was turning on to his side because he was using the correct lawful terms and he was standing in law. Rather than being legal, the judge could not get jurisdiction over him. That was the whole point of it. When he said to him, oh, please, Mr. Whatever, and he went, actually, I'm not Mr. anything. I haven't got a name. They said, what's your name? I haven't got a name, but you can refer to me as Dane. So and so he wasn't giving them jurisdiction. They couldn't get authority over him. So he stood as a man. So I mean, I've got like slagged off and attacked loads of times. Oh, like children of your property, how disgusting. Oh, so they're your slaves and you're going to sell them. So that's not what it's about. It's about how to talk about it in law. And in law, then it's your property, but only for the case of the court and law. You're not going to take them home and treat them as property and like I mean, it's like and sell them and stuff. It's for the law and for the courts, and it's treated as property. And if you do it correctly with the correct language, then you stand as a man, then it is. If you make the mistake and you can't stand on it and you incorrectly give the incorrect language, then you're going to get in trouble. But he made sure, obviously, that he'd done a lot of homework and was ready for it. And he did win his case, and obviously the judge sided with him. He said he got angry, very aggressive, the judge. But once he got new, he was in a corner. He thought, I either have to agree what law is, or I'm going to make a fool of myself. He supported him all the way through once he got to that point.
And it's kind of like coming back full circle to the mindset and being in control and everything, because you do not kind of match. Sometimes in negotiation or whatever, you kind of match and you kind of, if it's getting a bit vocal and whatever. But once you maintain your composure there, and like the judge, they try, you just don't give them that they've got power over you. That's the main thing, the mindset that you don't. And the fact that he then was able to, because I saw it, I mean, if I look back on a load of the cases, I was in the High Court, and like the judge did so many things that were wrong. Did I know that then? No, I would love to relive the different things. So it's a case of you're going into the courtroom, respect them, because at the end of the day, if you start shouting and roaring and saying you don't have, like, because that's the one that most people are trying to do. You don't have jurisdiction. Show me you've jurisdiction. And that's why they're getting the shit kicked out of them, because they're going in there with their boxing gloves and but you put them in their place. And I mean, I've done that in a lot of situations. I've put them in their place without having to just remain calm, and they fear the person that's calm, because it's when you start roaring and shouting and showing your emotions, then they'll do their tricks on you.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And that and any kind of like let's just look at it as a combat situation. It's word combat, isn't it? Right. So it's a combat situation. So whatever, if you lose your temper in a combat situation, you've lost everything. And that's like self-defense on the street. The biggest and best thing to do is to keep calm. And totally everything appears calm, you calm, keep calm, like be calm, breathe is the best way to do it, And then I think And when the judges are getting angry, are they getting angry or are they putting on a show to try and put you off and make you angry? Because if you react back, and that's what we see the videos, like then people put the videos up and they've sneaked it into the court and they're screaming and shouting. That's not going to win a case. That's not going to prove anything and help our cause. And our cause is justice. Our cause is the law, isn't it? Rather than like, this legal and we can legally do this and legally do that. You can legally kill people if you put a uniform on, but I don't want that to be right. It's definitely not lawful. Every time people go and they're dying, I'm talking about it could be an army uniform. You go and shoot them and kill them. It's not, no one asks a question. But most of the time you put like one of these police uniforms on, the die in custody and they don't ask questions either. So, oh well, it's just that it is the way it is. And
And
yeah,
with the recording then, because I've been in so many court cases, but I remember there was cameras in some of them that wasn't in others. And I mean, like I record the vocal because it's like what they're writing down and what they say. It's like my backup. Because sometimes you're not even allowed to have people come in. They don't even allow anyone else to be in the room. What's like, can they legally that you're not able to kind of represent? Because for me, it's like you're the one that's kind of controlling this room. You've got this person next to you that's typing everything. Everyone is kind of against me. So if we say something, you've all just agreed it's that. Whereas if I've got proof, hey, no, that's not what's said. So do you have any kind of, whether we call it legal, lawful, whatever, that you have the right to record or you get access to camera when there is a recording in the courtroom?
well, the unfortunate thing is if you've gone in, whereas Dane, what he done was fantastic. He basically took control. So they were standing in a lawful court. Whereas like most other people, no matter what they're doing, are screaming and shouting. You've definitely gone into a maritime court and you've remained in maritime because especially if you're screaming and shouting or arguing back, and you're giving them jurisdiction. So in a lot of ways, they should be in a law court, a lawful court. Any trial, if you have a crime, we'll call it, or a criminal offense, they call it, right, put against you, you should have a trial by jury. Not a jury trial, a trial by jury. There's a big difference. So on a trial by jury, there is no judge. There is only a convener who can direct what goes on, but not give any opinion on anything. And that's the difference. So that's what people should be asking for. And when you've got that, then you could have a 24/7. That's when they should be open 24/7. That they are our courts. They are not courts for the judiciary. They're not a judge's court. They're not a man. They are our courts. The court of the people. They should be open 24/7. And if you've got an issue, you should be able to walk and knock on the door and open up the court there and then. That is a fact. But obviously they hide all of these things. They try and hide it and make it it's legal. And I mean, obviously for the nature of like society, having business hours makes it normal. So I'm not saying they should open them 24/7, but they are our courts and they should be. So, but taking that, which is where the Bill of Rights comes into, which I always get anti-social with the Bill of Rights because everyone says, well, I'm going to stand on the Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights, excuse me, in 1688, that's when they started taking away the rights of man and woman. And they put a little bit extra in there so they could hide the bits that were taken away. That's when they started to say you had to be of a certain standing before you were allowed to be a juror, trying to take away the fact that we need to have a trial, a trial by jury with a jury of our peers. That's what they were doing in the Bill of Rights. They were getting rid of certain aspects of it so they could stop our rights. That's what the Bill of Rights, the Bill of we're going to take away your rights is what they should have called it.
And like that's something that I know my father before his passing, he had jury duty. My mom was called for it, so she actually and she didn't want to do it, she got out of it for some reason. But like if you look, I don't know, was it yourself? I think it was maybe Peter Stone that it was because we were talking about like I don't vote or whatever. So it's apparently when you register to vote, that's when you kind of go into the system for being on jury duty. But when you have a complete corrupt system, I mean, loads of people would have seen Trump in America, was kind of by jury or whatever. But how do we know? Because that is not a random thing where they just send out the postal thing for claiming to get so many people, and obviously they try to get in, say, 20 to get to 12, and then you get to kind of decide who accepts them. But how do we know that they're not going, let's get our own cronies in to get the decision that we want? Because that's something I don't trust anything, to be honest. Every single thing that I've looked at is corrupt. So I was like, even with that, and I'm just curious your thoughts on that one.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, it's a split in the difference between a jury trial and a trial by jury. Trial by jury is how we would do it, how we would arrange it, and it's a jury of your peers. Well, who is your peers? So it has to be anybody that's around your community. That's your peers, right? People from outside of your social circle, then that is not really your peers. Now, if we go to what you're saying, where you have the jury trial, then that they are picked apparently randomly. Now, years and years ago, I actually when I must have been when I first come back from Spain. Yeah, it must have been. So it's got to be about like 2000, maybe 12, 13, something like that, maybe 14. And they said, well, you've got to go on jury. And I thought, oh, well, I mean, I didn't want to because, I was like, I was just, I'd come back from Spain. I was opening up the gym, but I also wanted to see as well. And I thought, well, this is a good opportunity to go in and see, what's going on. So, like, I went to the court, it was in Newcastle, in the Crown Court. You take your little card in, and it's the most boring thing ever because you can go there and you have to stay. I can't remember if it's 1 week or 2 weeks. You have to stay there. Even if you don't get picked to go on a jury, you're not allowed to leave, right? So you're there from 9 till 5, Monday to Friday. I can't remember if they do it Saturday, but definitely Monday to Friday. Even if you don't get picked for jury, you're not allowed to go anywhere.
And you then go to a hotel room or something like that. You're not allowed to go home,
Or you can go home at the end of the day,
Right.
right? But like it's only on like special ones, like murder trials where and they don't want any press when it's high.
O.J.
They'll
Simpson
keep
kind of
you
thing,
in.
like.
Yeah, but like if it's anything normal, that I mean, normal. That's not the right way of putting it. But if it's not like they're not going to get a lot of press interest, where you're not going to get influenced by reading a newspaper or seeing a TV screen, then you can just go home. But like I say, even if you're not in a case. You got to stay there that whole time. I can't remember if it's a week or two. It's a long time ago. But you got to go every day. And if you don't get picked, you still got to go and sit and wait in this waiting room all day. There's
That's
nothing to do.
insane, isn't it? And
Yeah.
what about compensation then for your time for being there? How does that
You
work
get
out?
you get some compensation. You certainly don't get a replacement of your wages, but you get some compensation for going. But and then what happens is they'll call out a load of names. And then you all go in. Now, the first one I actually got pulled in for, and there was about maybe 30 people got pulled in. So right now, you're the 30. We need to get it to 12. So and they said this this case is a big fraud case, something to do with is it called a tachograph that goes inside to record how many miles
Yeah,
vehicles do?
yeah, yeah.
Something to do with that. And I'm sitting there like, and they said, well, this could take about 6 months. And I couldn't help that. I went, what? It's like, and I was like, whoops. And and so they says, well, you have to put in a form to say why you can't do this. And I'm like, I'm not doing 6 months. And they were there, not because I followed the case after just out of pure interest. I mean, not like, I want to know everything about it, but I wanted to know when it finished. And it was about 6 months. So then people were going into the jury, into that courtroom every day for 6 months, Monday to Friday, even if it had got called off that day or whatever it is, it was crazy. So, but then, and the one I got called into was a rape case. And that's what I did go in, but, so, but it was, like I say, it was interesting to me to see everything that was going on behind the scenes and to actually be involved in it. That's why, I would never want to do it again. I'm not on the electoral roll, so I would never like get called up again. And I'm not, in fact, I'm not registered anywhere. So I'm all right on that. But yeah, I mean, if they could filter it to make sure that they were going to have all of their stooges in, it's definitely possible, you know.
And like the
Um,
people that wait in the corridor or in whatever waiting room, are they listening to the whole case as well in case somebody's sick and they're a replacement? They're not. So
no, they're
you're,
not listening. They're not allowed to listen to it. No. Mm. They can get replaced like that. I did see one or two that got replaced for whatever reason.
but
I think
like
one of
for
them was.
example, like if that happens, because I mean people get ill or something, there could be a death in the family or whatever it is. Like if you're not privy to the information for the last, if it was a 6 months case for the first 2 months, how can you make a proper decision?
I don't know. I wouldn't know. I mean, if that did happen, there is a possibility they'd have to say, well, case dismissed, or it's what do they call the thing? It's a mistrial. We have to do it all again, you know, and get a new jury in. I mean, if somebody had a heart attack, for instance, and they probably wouldn't say, well, let's bring him in. He's got 2 weeks to find out what happened 6 months ago, you know. So there's obviously that case there. So I really don't know. I think they would have to do some kind of mistrial and do it all again. But I
With
know
the
that they
cases
did
that
swap
you've
a couple of people.
did that, with the like, because one thing I've noticed with all the different cases that I've had over the year, sometimes there's stuff that goes on for 2 years and they just look for information and then it's like, okay, and it's like you're in there for 5 minutes and then it's another month to 3 months before you get the whole lot is a farce. Like it's like, they say they don't have enough judges and stuff like that, but the reality is it should be give your information, all this information should be given beforehand. This is going to be what we're presenting. This is what you're presenting, and done. But there's so many games, and the problem is, it's okay for the judge, it's okay for the prosecutors and the attorneys because they're all billing you the whole time. But when you're trying to survive and you have this over your head for 2 years, which I've had a few cases that lasted over 2 years. It's a horrible experience, and it's just a game from like they're just passing the ball
Mm.
across. And like there was one I had to travel like half the into Poland for, and you go up and it's like 5 minutes later, and it's like okay, yeah, we have to do it some other time now. And you're like going up the night before, staying there, and then back again, and like that goes on everywhere as well. That's an international thing as well, and that should be nipped in the bud.
Yeah, do you know what? I was watching this video just this week, and it was by a lawyer, and he was talking about the Crown Prosecution Service, the CPS, and about Starmageddon as well. Keir Starmer, like just so you know what I'm talking about. So like and he says he was talking about he must have been watching a TV program with like Piers Morgan, and Piers Morgan, that disgusting blob of a thing. And he was saying like, like, oh well, Keir Starmer's like the top lawyer in the country because now he was head of CPS. So this guy was like, hang on, I just want to put the record straight. He said, I'm a lawyer, been a lawyer for blah blah years. This is that and that. All of the failed lawyers are the ones that go to the CPS. Anybody that can't be a good lawyer in the real world go to the CPS. That's where all the rubbish goes. That's where all of the failures go. And whoever goes up to the top of the CPS is purely political and picked out of the failure of the failures. So no way is he the top solicitor or lawyer or barrister in the country. He's probably one of the worst, and he was head of the CPS. And the cases that they always try and debunk them and say, no, it wasn't Keir Starmer's fault. It's nothing to do with him. And this guy was saying, yes, specifically, he was in charge of all of those cases, where old, fat fingers, sausage fingers, best friend got let away with no prosecution or investigation correctly until he was dead,
And which was
right?
interesting is Keith, I don't know, did we talk about that or did you see it? But Keith Stammer was sitting on Jimmy Samuel's lap like when he was a
Yeah,
kid.
exactly. Yeah. Ah, coincidence.
Exactly. Yeah.
So but yeah, and he said he was completely in charge of all of that, and it is down to him, no matter what he says and how many times he lies. I mean that now apparently is what was it? He said his uncle got like torpedoed in the Falklands. Like, I mean the guy he can't even logically lie like and make it a proper good lie where nobody could check, right? There was nobody got bloody torpedoed in the Falklands. How ridiculous. And he just comes up and uses stupid comments like that. It's worse than the Trotters, the uncle of that was in the Navy, during the war.
Only fools
I
and horses, yeah.
Yeah, it's just nuts. The absolute rubbish that he actually comes out with, and he's one that people think's in charge of anything. He's not in charge of anything. Like I say, he can't even buy his own wife's clothes, can he? So, I'll let her buy her own. Gets it all done for her, all by somebody else's money.
Just like finally, because with the affidavits, because we see all these people just lying and lying and lying, and you've got all these, computer geeks that are kind of telling people what to do with medical and all this. And what I've seen is one of the guys basically like by having a sworn affidavit is extremely powerful. And when because there's so many things, like we've put so many pieces together on our own kind of journeys, there's a load of stuff that we know is correct, or you can even check patents and stuff like that. You can just check through freedom of information. Do you think more people getting involved in that and creating sworn statements and trying to take down the individuals will make the change? Because we're kind of, there's people just so annoyed now because it's just getting worse and worse internationally, like between bringing people in and everything. Like, do you think that's one of the ways that we're actually going to make this place a better place?
Well, what you've said there is if you can get enough people to actually do it, which I think if you could get enough people to actually do any remedy, you would have a true remedy. You would have an effect, a ripple effect for sure. But the affidavit thing, right? If you have a sworn affidavit and they cannot rebut that affidavit, then that stands as a fact in law. So once you've done that, then therefore that is what is true. People would call it the truth, but I don't like that word. It's a legal word. I like to say true. So that now stands because it's true, because nobody has rebutted your sworn affidavit. So if everybody got sworn affidavits saying one thing or another and all going for the same target, then that I do think would have an effect. Because last month I went to Scotland. I'd done a presentation in Scotland, only a short one. It was like a whole day thing, but it was a few different speakers. I didn't have much time. But part of that GDPR book that I was telling you about before, it isn't just about debts. It's about how to use GDPR to become more private and to close down so many different avenues where they are literally harvesting and stealing your data. And part of it was I was dealing with supermarkets, how to deal with them. Now that's a numbers game as well, right? And also the car parking companies, how disgusting their behavior is. And if we all did the same type of thing using GDPR against them, but in mass, right? I could do it. It's not going to have an effect. They're not going to bother. But how many groups you must know as well? You'll have seen them all over, like the countries, different countries, but in England, in Ireland, in Scotland, in Wales, there's loads of little groups of 60, 70, 100 people that meet regularly, whatever it would want to call the groups. Like, there's one truth seekers and walk in the park and all of these types of groups. So if they could literally get together and then speak to each other and say, we need 1,000 people. And what we're going to do is we're going to target, right? Let's just say the car parking companies. So all of these private pirates, right? They are parking companies. Right, wait, let's just, I don't know, it doesn't matter what any of them are called. Pick one. Now, out of that one, everybody in the whole country has to find out in their local area where their car park is. And they'll find one. There'll be one for that one national company. Now, everybody go to the car park, right? So say, like all around the country, there's 1,000 here, although there could easily be 10,000, 20,000, right? Say you're going to go in, you and 10 of your friends into your local one in your local town. And you drive in, they've took an image of you. That's your data. You drive straight out. You don't use it. You don't stop. Go straight out. They should take another image of you, your data again. Now, because you haven't used the facility, you drove in and out, there is no legitimate interest for them to have that data. That is their argument. Whenever you actually say, why have you done that? Oh, it's my legitimate interest because you're using my facility. Well, we didn't use it. We went in and out. So then what you do is you send them a request, a subject access request, an SAR. Some people call it a DSAR, right? I think we spoke about this before, but it's the same thing. You're asking them for your data. Now, what you say is like, I'm requesting my data under Article 15 GDPR. Now, you legally have a duty to give me it in 30 days. So if you run, if you do it, they'll probably send it in 30 days. And they'll probably, that's it, end of story. There's nothing they can do about it. But if you've got, like, say, like you and 10 of your friends have done it that day, right? And then you go and do it the next day, and then you do it the next day. But imagine that if there's 1,000 of you, 10,000 of you go and do it to the same company, right? Every day. And then you send them an SER. They are not going to administratively be able to handle this. If they go past that 30 days, that's a breach of data. That's the £5,000 compensation. So once they've breached your data, and if there's thousands of you doing it, right, then you can start putting these claims in. How long do you think it's going to take before either you close down the company or they stop their malpractice of robbing people of hundreds of pounds because they're 1 minute over of stopping in for that free hour? Excuse me. That is where we have, rather than using an affidavit, you use the numbers to actually go and have a cause and effect, because it would have a massive effect on them.
Brilliant. I love
They
it.
wouldn't be able to administratively handle it. So then they would be getting strung out when we're not answering the SERs. Then they're going to get all these compensation claims. And that's where we say, this is what you deserve for the disgusting behavior that you've actually been using on the public.
I heard an interesting one there during the week. I'm not sure which shopping thing it was, but you've got these cards, like loyalty awards cards and everything. And the person got a call from the Inland Revenue or the tax guys. Where did you get the money to be buying all this stuff? That they're giving their information to the government. So people use these loyalty programs because sometimes you get 10% off or whatever, you get bonus points, you can get different things from their catalogs. But they were passing that information off. So he got called. I can't remember where I saw it, but it was basically based on the information of the loyalty card that he had to prove where he got the money from, of the stuff he was buying.
But that's the thing. So again, and part of the book that I've created is to show people how to go and target the supermarkets as well. So first of all, I haven't even touched on that, although I was looking at it. Should I include the loyalty card thing? Stop getting these loyalty cards. They're harvesting your data. So this is what it pisses me off. So well, you go in and you say, well, I'm just going to go quickly get something from the supermarket, right? So you go in and you get, have you got a blah, blah card? Oh, no. But it's like, oh, you're going to save £2. Well, why don't you just give me the £2 off then? Well, if you could do that because I have this piece of plastic, why can't everybody just get that money off then? That would be, you know what I mean? Like, oh, why? Look, you've got a black top on today. You get that £2 off. You don't have to have this stupid card. Or, people don't realize they're harvesting your data. They're selling it. They're making millions and giving you £2 off, right? But also, when you walk into the supermarket, then there's this great big giant screen of you walking in, or you go to the checkout. And so you use the self-service one. So not only are you now working for the supermarket for free, right? Because you're actually doing your own checkout. So instead of having like somebody on the till there getting some wages for doing that job, you're doing it for free. They didn't give you the £2 off everything because you haven't got the loyalty card. And they're taking your image. You can see yourself, right? So I went in. It was, I think about it. Anyway, a few months ago, and Janine usually, she's with me, she'll do that. She put her finger over the camera, right? I was on my own, so I put the plastic bag over the camera, right? And this woman's going backwards and forwards, and she ripped the bag off the camera and started walking away. She said, hey, wait, that's my bag. And she's like huffing and puffing. I'm like, I'm putting my stuff in there. That's my bag. I put my stuff in. So she gave me it back. You could see them whispering. And then as I was walking out, I could see, a very fit, athletic security guard struggling to get off his stool. And, I thought, oh, he's going to say something to me. So I was like, well, anyway, don't you ever do that again. I just turned around and says, oh, so have you got like a GDPR license under Article 6 where you've got my unambiguous consent to take my data because that's my data. If you don't like it, get out and never come back. It's like, then there's a breach. That's an immediate breach there. So that's worth £5,000 to me. right? I was just laughing. I laughed and I walked away. But so I've prepared the book. So I said, like, everybody should walk in, do the same thing to the car parks as do it to the supermarkets. Everybody walk in, get all of your groups. Don't go and march down to shout at the empty Houses of Parliament where all of the MPs have gone home for the weekend. What are you doing? You're going to travel to London, march around there. They're going to arrest 4 or 5 of you just for a laugh, right? And you're not going to get anything out of it. And you're screaming, shouting at an empty building. Do something that's a protest that's real. So all of you walk into the supermarket, right? What you can do is we've got one of our group now. He's got 19 on the go right now. 19. That's £5,000. Multiply that by 19, right? So he's going to quit his job. But you go into the supermarket. You can. It doesn't have to be supermarket, but you can do it in a big shopping mall, right? But and it's been done. We've got video evidence of it being done. We've got the guy who'll explain it to you. But anyway, you walk into the supermarket, you can actually go straight up, wave at the camera, go over to the security guard or anyone standing there, your customer service, and say, "I need my data. You've just took my data. I need to request it now." Because the law is very, very clear and very specific. You can ask for your data under Article 15 of GDPR, verbally or in writing. You don't have to just write in. Now, if they refuse, point blank, that's an immediate claim. You don't have to worry about the 30 days or anything. If they refuse, that's an immediate claim. So, get one of them little spy cameras on, so you can, don't do it on your phone, right? They can all see. Get a little spy, or wear some glasses with one in. I've seen them all.
Sometimes you see the buttons. There's no way you'd know it. It looks like a button, but it's a camera.
Yeah. So record it, but even if they don't do that and they say, "Oh yeah, well, you have to write to head office," fine, no problem. But we should be doing it en masse. So let's just pick one supermarket, say Asda, right? So like 1,000 of you go into every Asda store around the country and you all do the same. "I want my data. I want my data. I want my data." And then you started sending the SERs in. Same thing. Administration, they are not going to be able to handle it. Now, just the time lapse alone, they're not going to get to finish them and send them the data or tell you, actually, we haven't actually stored the images. We've just got rid of them. They're there for whatever story they come out with. They're not going to be able to reply in time. They just won't have the staff. So they're going to start getting claims against them for £5,000 a time, right? And it doesn't matter. Some people say, "Oh, why 5,000? I mean, they haven't done any harm." Well, it wasn't us who set the limits, right? They're there. So you just use the limit. So the point is, if they start, and they will have to pay it out. So imagine there was like 20,000 of you every single month, all going in, one after the other, and all doing the SER. I'm not saying that you'll all get 5,000, but the administrative headache, as well as the financial headache of paying them out. How long do you think it'll be before they took them cameras away? Started putting tills on, so that they were giving people a job that they could go and get wages by doing a till instead of you going working for them for free, getting your image taken by it, right? That is how you're going to make an effect. That there is maintaining your privacy. Start to put pressure on the corporations. You can call it Tesco's, Asda, Lidl. They're all the same. Doesn't matter. It's all
They're
building up to
selling
the same pyramid.
99% crap anyway, so it's not as if you should care about them.
Oh, I know. I mean, what is like, come in and buy some poison. You know what I mean? It's like, it's up. Even, I mean, sometimes we go in and get the fruit. We're lucky. We got farm shops. I live in a rural area, but you do now and again. So I quickly have to get some. But even the fruit, most of the time, is not good. But
It's
like anything else,
irradiated. You buy it, you bring it home, and if you don't eat it there and then, the next day it's like just covered in mold and crap and stuff, which isn't normal either. And the
but
thing is, you go into a shopping center like these big Lidls, as the Tesco and all that, and they have like the natural health place, or they have organic kind of stuff. And all you have to ask yourself is, this is what it used to be. So they're basically telling you, if you just look at that little tiny, if they don't even have a full in, and just go, everything else is poison. And
yeah.
even at that, there's trickery as well that they lie about that. But just you're just showing, you're kind of telling us, hey, this is what real food is. So it means the rest isn't.
Exactly. So, you go in, it could literally be go into the fruit aisle, take that fruit and then leave or pay for it and leave. But, don't buy anything else because it doesn't matter what it is, right? Who we're talking about, like the deodorants and everything, but also the chemicals, right? All the chemicals that you clean in your house with, they're all killing you. They are all poisoning you, everything. So don't touch any of them. Don't wash your dishes with that. Don't wash your clothes with that, right? Certainly don't go and buy it. If there's food in a packet, don't buy it, right? It's poison. It's toxin to you. So if you can't like literally pick it up and peel it and eat it, then don't do it. It's like it's not good for you. So everything else, just never ever buy it. Anything that's in a packet, just don't touch it. Don't, ugh, So there
Excellent.
you go. But that's what we should be doing with supermarkets, putting the pressure on them. That is how you do a protest and actually have a positive impact, and then you will start to win. And once you've had an impact on them, then when you start going out and doing it as well to all of these cameras that are outside, this is how we start getting our privacy back. That's how we start getting our freedom back. That's the way to do it. And what are you doing? You're using their rules to do it as well.
Mm, excellent. And like just finally, Peter, because I know you're working on a few courses, so you might just tell people what they are and when they'll become available, so that people can check them out.
Well, that one there, I'm talking about the GDPR book, right? It's like I'm going to call it your data defender. So literally, it tells you how to use GDPR, General Data Protection Regulations, on so many different fields. First of all, the debt, how to actually, because they always break the GDPR, so you shouldn't have to pay the debt back. I'm talking about when it goes to debt collectors. The same thing with a council tax. I'm not talking about defending or like, worrying about should you or not pay council tax, but it's that action afterwards. That's what breaches the GDPR. How to actually defend that and battle that and win. But then also against the supermarkets and against the car parking companies, but also about the actual data harvesters. There's specific companies that do nothing but harvest data. Now you can get rid of most of it, and people never bother or don't know, haven't researched enough. So it's about how to go in and stop them taking your online data, how to actually remove it. So you can actually remove most data, not all of it, but most of it that they're harvesting and selling for fortunes, and you don't see any of it. So that's what that's for. So it's like it's an ebook, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to have an ebook, an audio book, and then a video series. So it's all, which one do you want? You can put them all together, make your own choice, So that's what that is. But then also on the other side, it's actually going into trusts. So you hear a lot of people talking about trusts. So, this is where you go to get one, or get one from me, or go and get one from him. I'm not doing any of that. But what I've done is I've created a handbook on how to be a trustee. So not only is it's designed so you can create your own trust, be your own trustee, but also teach others to be your trustee as well. Because eventually what a trust's for is for it to continue protecting your assets when you're dead, right? But nobody knows how to do it. What's the point of having a fantastic trust written by the best trust writer in the world if you don't know how to be a trustee or have anyone be a trustee for you? And then they get challenged, they're going, well, I don't know, look, there's a bit of paper. Because you know
And
what it's
even
like.
going back to the court case that you mentioned earlier, so just to know your rights when they actually come after you in the wrong way.
Exactly. So now go into that court case at the beginning. Now I'm going to prepare all the paperwork. I'm going to say, like, show it to them and say, look, you take it. It's not my case. So, I can't represent people. Not that you want to represent, because they're going to present themselves. But then they're going to take their own paperwork that they've like took and had a look at and then created their own from me, boom, and go and actually like stick up for themselves as a trustee, right? Whereas like most people don't know how to do that. So it's a handbook on how to actually be a trustee, not only just about trusts, but how to act as a trustee so you can administer and defend and enforce the trust that you've got created. So that should be out very soon as well. So there's two different courses that I've got coming up. Again, both of them extremely effective and helpful to people that need a bit more knowledge.
No, excellent. I'll make sure, because once you give me the links, because sometimes people are constantly linking this, but looking at it later, there's no time frame for all of the episodes. with the you said represent, that you don't represent. I've heard of the Mackenzie, that you like a Mackenzie that you're kind of there as. Is that like you're kind of acting for 'em, but you're not personally liable? Is that something that you've used?
No, I've been a Mackenzie friend many times, all over the country. You're not allowed to speak in the court, right? So, and they're all slightly different, but if they do it correctly, you have to fill in a form and you have to apply to be a Mackenzie friend. So, and then they can say no, you're not being it, get out. So, but you're not, you can advise them quietly, you can whisper, blah, 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 but you're not allowed to speak, you're not allowed to interrupt, and they will throw you out if you interrupt any proceedings, but you can write notes
Exactly. I
down.
mean, I've won court cases by actually just making a note, passing it to the solicitor. So if you're there on their side and you kind of hear something and you go say this, you can actually win a case based on it. Okay, cool.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's what you can do. You can write it down, pass it back, backwards and forwards, and that type of stuff there. And if they're giving evidence, sometimes it can be very distressing, and if they haven't got the sort of like emotions ready and focused, then that can be a stressful time. So you can be like, be there for them and try at least to know that there's somebody there to help them as well. So it's an emotional support. And that's what I think what the court try and look at it as an emotional support more than anything. But that's why they call it a friend, a Mackenzie friend. But you can like, write things down, pass them and whisper and that, but you're definitely not allowed to jump up and get objection.
Even though
So
you'd like to. No, listen, Peter, as always, thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. You might just let people know, for those that might know you or just forget, where's the best place to find you?
well, I mean, the two best places, it's going to be on the YouTube channel, Return to True Democracy. The website itself, where you can actually get onto my mailing list, is claimyourstrawman.com. Now, if you want to see the event that we're doing, which is in February next year at Newcastle, which is a full weekend event. We've got some fantastic speakers covering everything from cryptocurrency, decentralized finance, going on to the law, the trusts, how to stand in court, all of that stuff there. And that's claim. So no, it isn't. What is it called again? Checkmatethematrix.com. Checkmatethematrix.com. And that's the event next year in February, 1st and 2nd of February in Newcastle. So
Perfect. I'll make sure I put the links both on the audio and the video. As always, thanks a minute, Peter.
no, more than welcome. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
That's all for the Awakening Podcast. You'll find all our episodes on awakeningpodcast.org. Sure to give us a thumbs up, 5-star rating, share with your friends, and let us know what you thought. We love to read your comments. Until next week, take care.
So I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. As mentioned at the start, you can find my 6 podcasts on roycollin.com or scan the QR code if you're looking to start a podcast or do a podcasting tour. I help with that. Also, if you're looking for a virtual assistant, we also have that service. And you can help the show by visiting the store, supporting our sponsors, or making a donation. Until next week, take care.